So we'll learn today about Eiruv Tavshilin. It's quite a rare mitzvah in Israel. Overseas, you get it more often. And this year, we actually have Eiruv Tavshilin. And as we do many times, we will go for the idea behind the halacha, and then we'll go through the siman Taf Kuf Kaf Zayin 527 and see more of the details of the halacha. How do we do Eiruv Tavshilin? What happens if someone forgets Eiruv Tavshilin? What can I do when I do Eiruv Tavshilin? What can't I do with Eiruv Tavshilin? But let's begin first with the basic, with the source of it. So Eiruv Tavshilin is a rabbinical mitzvah. Mitzvah de Rabbanan. It's rabbinical. Our sages said, if one wants to prepare from Shabbat to Yom Tov, he first needs to do Eiruv Tavshilin.
Okay, so the fact that it is a rabbinical mitzvah, that would mean that that the Oraita, such preparation is forbidden.
And so here comes the question.
Mitzvah, of Eiruv Tavshilin.
So what does it mean? Yeah, what does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? And that's exactly brings us to the next place. So thank you for the question.
He paid me.
We have, I gave him liqueur, so he asked my questions. Okay. So we have an argument in the Gemara between Rabbah and Rav Chisda. Are you allowed to prepare on Yom Tov for Shabbat? Everyone agrees that you aren't allowed to prepare on Yom Tov for Yom Chol. That's agreed. The question is, are you allowed to prepare on Yom Tov for Shabbat? So Rabbah says, Midoraita, you are not allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. And Rav Chisda said, you're allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. Here comes the question. According to Rabbah, how can we prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat? So according to Rabbah, there's a trick, or the Torah allows us to prepare for on Yom Tov if there is a chance that this food will be on Yom Tov. Which means we can understand that the whole problem,
Say that again.
if there's a chance that the food will be eaten on Yom Tov. So the whole problem to prepare from Shabbat to Yom Tov, maybe if you look at it in a spiritual way, is Yom Tov has its own meaning, its own kedusha, its own holiness. If I prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat, so what I'm showing, Shabbat is important, Yom Tov isn't. But as soon as there's a chance that this food will be eaten on Yom Tov, although I know that it's really for Shabbat, and I'm saving it for Shabbat, but there's a chance that this food will be eaten on Yom Tov. So you're allowed to prepare it mideoraita. Okay, so according to everyone, if I prepare something in the morning and there's a good chance it will be eaten on Yom Tov, mideoraita, you're allowed to do it. Where or when do we find the difference between Rabbah and Rav Chisda? If I cook very close to the end of Yom Tov, Yom Tov ends, I think, at 7 these days, more or less. 6:30, I'm heating up, chopping my schnitzel and frying them. I'll be finished by 6:59, and that's it. No one is going to eat those schnitzels at 6:59. So it's obviously for Shabbat. According to Rabbah, there's the problem. It's to deoraita here. Right? It's a Torah law forbidden. You're not allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. That's Rabbah. According to Rav Chisda, no problem. You can prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. It's two different kedushot, but Shabbat has a higher level, and no problem. Prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. Let's remember this argument when we get to Eiruv Tavshilin itself, to the details of Eiruv Tavshilin, and when are we allowed to prepare for Shabbat. So let's remember this argument in a few minutes. Another argument we have is between Rava and Rav Ashi. As we saw, if we prepare, let's say, in the middle of the day, we cook in the middle of the day for Shabbat. Okay, midoraita, I'm allowed to cook in the middle of the day of Yom Tov to Shabbat. Okay, according to Rabbah, because people might eat it on Yom Tov, and according to Rav Chisda, because you're allowed to prepare on Yom Tov to Shabbat. Our sages said that you are not allowed to cook on Yom Tov in praying for Shabbat, and there's an argument why. What is the reason? Are we focusing more on Shabbat, or are we focusing more on Yom Tov? I'll explain. Rava says, if, let's say, now it's Yom Tov. Yom Tov is a day of eating. Even, I think I've told you once, I lived in Kadima. Kadima was a Sephardi place. It was a Sephardi place. Many, the religious people, many of them are Sephardim. So not all of them are religious, but many of them are Masorti. So they don't drive on Shabbat, they don't drive on Yom Tov. There's an atmosphere of the holiday on Shabbat in the street. On Yom Tov, you walk in the street and there's smoke. Why smoke? People are barbecuing. Barbecue, it's a mitzvah of Yom Tov. But Yom Tov gets something different. We like to eat on Yom Tov. Even if you look at the vacation days of the holidays, on Friday, most of the schools work on Friday, right? But on Erev Chag, so everyone is on vacation. Why Erev Chag? You need to prepare for Chag. The special dishes people make for Rosh Hashanah, special dishes for Sukkot, special dishes for Shavuot or the dairy, right? I went to Rami Levi today. Going next to the dairy aisle was hectic. I had to park my somewhere else and walk the back. Yeah, so Yom Tov, food is something special on Yom Tov. And according to Rava, our sages were concerned that if we leave all of the cooking on Shabbat, for Shabbat, for Yom Tov, so people will just leave a few leftovers for Shabbat, and Shabbat won't get the respectful meals it should get. So according to Rava, Chazal said, you want to cook for Shabbat? On Yom Tov? No problem. Make sure to start cooking beforehand. Call it Eiruv Tavshilin. And when you start cooking beforehand, you realize, I'm cooking for Shabbat. I need to make sure I have good food for Shabbat. And our sages said, if you forgot to do it, you aren't allowed to cook. That will force you to remember next time to cook. Maybe according to Rava, there's a loophole, and you can put Eiruv Tavshilin maybe even on Shabbat itself, but we won't go into it now. So according to Rava, the focus is Shabbat. According to Rav Ashi, the focus is opposite, and that's what seems like the halacha is. According to Rav Ashi, the focus is Yom Tov. If we now start cooking on Yom Tov for Shabbat, everyone will think, no problem, cook as much as you want. Yom Tov, you can do whatever melacha you want for cooking. Cooking for Sunday, fine. Cooking for Monday, fine. Cooking for Shabbos, fine. Everything's fine. You can cook on Yom Tov. And our sages wanted to make a heker, to make a reminder for people that they remember, Yom Tov is a holy day. It's true, we are allowed to cook on Yom Tov, but Yom Tov is a holy day. We can't just do whatever you want on Yom Tov. Don't start cooking on Yom Tov for the regular weekdays. That's why our sages said, you want to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat? You can do it only if you put in Eiruv Tavshilin. So that's the halacha, that's what it seems like the poskim bring, like Ashi, that the idea of Eiruv Tavshilin is to focus on Yom Tov and to show people that Yom Tov is an important day, it's a holy day. So that's the idea behind Eiruv Tavshilin. Why is it called Eiruv? I understand the word Tavshilin. Why is it called Eiruv? So it's mingling. Usually Eiruv means mingling. Usually typical Eiruv is when we have a few people living together and we want them to be considered as one family. So that mingling of the rashuyot. Here it looks like more mingling of time. Okay, we are starting to cook on Erev Chag, and we're continuing it on Chag itself towards Yom Tov, as if we are saying, what I'm cooking now on Yom Tov, it's actually I started it beforehand. I started on Shabbat, on Erev Chag, and I'm now just continuing what I started cooking on Erev Chag. That's the idea behind Eiruv Tavshilin. One more machloket, and maybe we should have brought it earlier. It's from the Tanaim between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. What do we need to use for Eiruv Tavshilin? Or how much Tavshilin do we need? Do we need 2 Tavshilin or 2 pieces, two different foods, or one kind of food? And the halacha is like Beit Hillel, that we need only one kind of food. I think that I can say. Okay, so for Eiruv Tavshilin, we need one kind of food. And now we can
we really only need one type
we only one type of food as the Eiruv Tavshilin, and we'll see that we also need bread lechatchila. Okay, and that's exactly this halacha Saif Bet in Siman Taf Kuf Samech Zayin 527. So I'll read this because it's a short Saif. Eiruv ze osin oto befat v'tavshil. Because for this Eiruv you have to take a piece of bread and a cooked food. But the Shulchan Aruch says, "Ve'im lo asao ela mitavshil levad mutar." If you did just a cooked piece of food, so that's fine. Okay, but you have to have at least something which is cooked. Okay, and what do you use for this tavshil? What can you use? And the Ran says it needs to be something that we usually eat together with bread, or we can eat together with bread. Meat, some kind of dish that we eat together with the bread. If you're Yemenite and you have a Yemenite soup, maybe so marak temani, you eat it, something which you eat together with the bread, not like porridge, which we mentioned in the past. In brachot, we don't eat that with bread. I'm going through the simanim. This dish that you make, it's not like Pesach, that Korban Pesach must be roasted, barbecued. This dish can be cooked, it can be smoked, that doesn't matter. As long as it's something cooked, or cooked means the wide meaning of cooked, and even if it's barbecued and you eat it with bread, that is fine.
But we should have cooked it on Erev
Yom Tov, yeah. It must be done on Erev Yom Tov. Okay, Erev Yom Tov, even if it's a small amount, the Chatchila we take something which is important, something which we keep for Shabbat, it's important. But even if I have just the small pieces left in the dish, I combine it together, put it on the side and say that's my Eiruv Tavshilin, this is fine. Okay, so that's what do we make the Eiruv Tavshilin from? A question we can ask, let's say I don't have anything to do. Do I need to do Eiruv Tavshilin or no? So the answer is there's a mitzvah to do Eiruv Tavshilin, and if a bracha or not a bracha, we'll get to it very soon. So the mitzvah, Shulchan Aruch says, it's a mitzvah for everyone to do an Eiruv Tavshilin, and it's a mitzvah for the rabbi of the city to do an Eiruv Tavshilin for all the city, okay, or all of the neighborhood. So it's a mitzvah for him to do an Eiruv Tavshilin for all the neighborhood. And why is that? Because then if someone forgot to do a Eiruv Tavshilin, okay, so he can rely on the rabbi. Okay. But, okay, not everyone can rely on the rabbi. Since Chazal said there's a mitzvah for everyone to do a Eiruv Tavshilin, what's the goal of the Eiruv Tavshilin, as we said? Or to honor Shabbat, or to honor Yom Tov. If I just trust someone else, I'm not honoring Shabbat, I'm not honoring Yom Tov. So it's a mitzvah for everyone to do a Eiruv Tavshilin by himself. If a person forgot, so you can trust the rabbi. If a person said, I'm not doing a Eiruv Tavshilin, I'm trusting the rabbi, it doesn't help. Okay, a person needs to do Eiruv Tavshilin by himself. Unless, for example, a person is stuck, he's in the, I don't know, he's had something just happened, and he's running out to the hospital. He'll be back a minute before Yom Tov, and he say, okay, now I can rely on the rabbi. Here we have maybe something which we should notice. If a person forgot 1 year or once, so now he can't rely on the rabbi anymore. Because if you forget something once, you have to remember it for the second time. If you forget again on the second time, that's already called someone who's a pashia, who doesn't really care about the Eiruv Tavshilin, so you can't trust on Eiruv Tavshilin. Okay, there's
the individual, like us as individuals, there's also text within the Eiruv Tavshilin declaration,
right,
that says that we can also include, we're not rabbis, but we could also include our community. There's a parenthesis,
yeah, you don't say it, and the reason is if I want to include everyone else in the community, so I need to make this dish belong to everyone in the community, and usually we don't do it. We can do it. We can. Once I did that in once where I lived. So I gave it to someone, one of our neighbors. I told him, you now lift it up with the mind of now it belonging to everyone. Usually we don't do it, so therefore you skip those words. And we'll get very soon to those words. This Eiruv Tavshilin needs to exist until the beginning of Shabbat, until I finished preparing everything for Shabbat. Okay, so if I made Eiruv Tavshilin on Erev Yom Tov, and on the day of Yom Tov by mistake I ate it, nothing left from the Eiruv Tavshilin, so it's as if I didn't do an Eiruv Tavshilin. If there's something left, so it's fine. It needs to stay at least until the beginning of Shabbat. There is a custom of many people, and they say since we did one mitzvah with this food, we will eat it on Shabbat as one of the meals, and we'll eat it on Seudah Shlishit, not just a regular meal, we'll eat it on Seudah Shlishit. As we learned in the past, Seudah Shlishit, that's the meal that shows that Shabbat is different than the rest of the days, right? Because usually they'll eat dinner when it's dark, and here we eat Seudah Shlishit before Shkia. So this Eruv Tavshilin, which from the beginning was there to show that Yom Tov is something important, or Shabbat is something important, so we eat it on Seudah Shlishit. You don't have to, but that's a very common custom to do so.
It's also risky because if you forget to eat that dish at Seudah Shlishit, let's say I prepared it, how many times,
it's fine. You don't have to eat it, even if I got to eat it, so it's fine. As long as it exists, it's still there at the house until the beginning of Shabbat, so it's fine. If I eat it, don't eat it, so that's something else. As long as I don't eat all of it on Yom Tov. If I eat all of it on Yom Tov, then I have a problem. Okay. So how do we do this Eruv Tavshilin? Second, Zoom. I just stopped it by mistake. Let me begin it again. I pressed by mistake the button of. Oh, it's working. No, it's working. Sorry, it's working. Okay, it's here. Okay, yeah, I think it's here. Okay, so we're here. Okay. So you take this Eruv Tavshilin, and we have a bracha. So a bracha, Eruv Tavshilin. Now, like any other mitzvah, if I forgot to say the bracha, so it's fine. Let's say one put on tefillin. He forgot to say the bracha of tefillin. Did he do the mitzvah of tefillin? Yes. Okay, yes. If a person shook the lulav and he didn't know, he forgot to say the bracha, it's fine. If a person counted the omer, and he forgot to say the bracha beforehand, so he did the mitzvah. Maybe he can't count again for bracha because he did the mitzvah already. So we should say a bracha beforehand, but the bracha, if you forgot the bracha, so it is still an Eruv Tavshilin. There is a text that lechatchila we should say it, and yeah, we should say the text. Maybe afterwards you can send it. But it means with this Eruv that I have here, I'll be allowed to bake and to cook, and some also say to light a candle. We have the text in the Siddur, to light a candle on Shabbat, for Shabbat, and to do all of the preparations. This text, according to many poskim, is important. Not like the bracha, which obviously is important, but the Eiruv is still an Eiruv even without the bracha. The text that we say, which is written in the Siddurim, according to many poskim, this is important, and the Eiruv depends on that. Okay.
Now what about holding it in your hand as you make the bracha?
You can hold in your hand. You can say it in this Eiruv that you have it here on the side. Have it here. Say this Eiruv. As long as you say this is my Eruv Tavshilin and you say the text.
So even if you point to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And should ideally somebody else be there to hear you?
No, you don't have to have someone next to you. And if I do it for the whole family, so everyone who's in my house, it's like I'm doing it for them. And so it can be nice actually if they'll be with you and they'll learn and there's chinuch and they'll be part of it. But as soon as I do, everyone it's not required. What can we do from Yom Tov to Shabbat? So what can you do from Yom Tov to Shabbat when I put the Eiruv? And that brings us also to another question. Let's say I'm at a hotel, or I have nothing to prepare. I prepared everything. I'm well organized. I don't like Shavuos. I'm going to go to sleep, stay up all night, go to sleep the whole day, and I won't have any time to cook anything on Yom Tov. Do we still have to prepare an Eruv Tavshilin or no?
Is it just for cooking, or is it for any type
also, of that's exactly the question. Is it just for cooking or for every type of preparation? The Mishnah Berurah says that the Eruv Tavshilin is only for things which are connected to the meal. Only for things which are connected to the meal, which are food. Oh, I won't say food. Which are connected to the meal. There's actually a machloket, an argument. It seems like there's a machloket between the Rishonim, whether lighting candles needs any Eruv Tavshilin or no. Some Rishonim say, the Rambam and so, that no, candle is candle. You can light candles for Yom Tov. You can just light candles for Shabbat. You can light as many candles as you wish. Some hold that the Eiruv also allows us to light the Shabbat candles. So according to some Rishonim, you can't light candles without an Eiruv Tavshilin. Okay, so let's leave candles on the side in just a moment. So obviously cooking, that I need an Eiruv Tavshilin. What about other things like washing dishes, preparing the house, and other things? So that's the Halachot, and according to the poskim, when I do an Eiruv Tavshilin, I can do all the preparations which are connected to the meal for Yom Tov, which means setting up the table is connected to the meal, right? Slaughtering a goat, yeah, that's obviously for ochel nefesh, yes, you have to cook it. But washing dishes, okay, so although by washing dishes, that's not called ochel nefesh, but since it is part of the meal and I can't eat without washing dishes, so everything which is connected to the meal can be done when I do an Eiruv Tavshilin. Okay, so that's and here comes the question. We said lighting candles is a machloket. Do I need to put an Eiruv Tavshilin just for lighting candles? What happens if I'm at a hotel? Do I need to do a Eiruv Tavshilin? I don't have anything to prepare. Nothing to prepare. I'm eating out on Shabbos. I'm eating out as friends. I have nothing to prepare. So if I have a few small things to prepare, even if it's midirabanan things, not cooking, but preparing, washing dishes, doing other things, so I do a Eiruv Tavshilin with a bracha. But if I have nothing to prepare, if lighting candles needs an Eiruv Tavshilin, so I can do Eiruv Tavshilin for bracha for lighting candles. But if lighting candles, you can light candles without, doesn't require an Eiruv Tavshilin, so I don't need to do an Eiruv Tavshilin, right? So the answer is when someone is, let's say, at a hotel and he has nothing to do besides lighting candles, he does an Eiruv Tavshilin, but without the bracha. Without the bracha. Okay, why? Because it says Eiruv Tavshilin without the bracha.
So he'll make the declaration.
Yeah, make the declaration without the bracha.
And he won't have any food in his hand or to point.
No, he has to take some kind of food with him.
So
okay, an egg or something like that, and then make the declaration without the bracha. And the reason for that is because he has nothing to prepare. So besides lighting candles, and lighting candles, there's a question if you need an Eiruv Tavshilin or no, so therefore it does it without a bracha. Most people, even when we are eating out, so usually we have some kind of preparations we need to do. We bring a salad, we do something, so that's we can do an Eiruv Tavshilin and with a bracha. Another question, and that brings us to the first argument, the first machloket we saw. Until what time can we cook on Shabbat? Until time I did an Eiruv Tavshilin. I did on Erev Chag. Tomorrow morning I'm doing an Eiruv Tavshilin, and now comes Yom Tov afternoon. I woke up late from my shluf, right? And now it's half an hour before Shabbos. Can I fry my schnitzels now? That's the question. Can I fry my schnitzels now? Let's go back to the first argument. According to Rabbah, who said that the whole reason that from the Torah you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat is only because there's a chance that you might eat it on Yom Tov. So there's no chance. From the Torah law, you cannot cook on Yom Tov from Torah law. And therefore, Eiruv Tavshilin does not help. Like means that I should finish all my preparations according to Rabbah in a time when I'll still have a chance to benefit from it on Yom Tov. And that could be very common. I have food in the blech. When should I put the food in the blech? 2 minutes before candle lighting or half an hour beforehand? I want to fill up my kettle, my kumkum, whatever it's called. That's actually a question on Yom Tov. Do we do it? Don't do it. But let's say I can do it. I can fill it up on Yom Tov and there's no problem of turning on the electricity when I put on cold water inside. Can I do it a few minutes before candle lighting or I have to do it half an hour before Yom Tov? So according to Rabbah, you have to do it sometime before the end of Yom Tov, so you can still benefit from it on Yom Tov.
But that's also a little bit of a different question, because wouldn't you want your water not only to benefit from it, but you would have wanted it to have finished boiling
before Shabbat comes in?
Shabbat.
Well, if that brings us to the question of warming up water before Shabbat, is there a problem of and someone might touch the coals? Let's say that the heater doesn't have there's no way to change the heater on it. So there's no problem Okay, so even in such a case, you still want to put it in quite a bit before Yom Tov ends. According to Rav Chisda, no problem. On Shabbat, you're allowed to cook, on Yom Tov, sorry, you're allowed to cook for Shabbat. Do it until the last minute. The poskim go lechatchila by Rabbah. Lechatchila, you should do all the preparations when you still have time before Yom Tov ends. Lechatchila. But b'di'evet, if I didn't have a chance, I could prepare all the things of Yom Tov until the last moment. So, which is quite an interesting halacha, because we have a machloket midoraita. According to Rabbi, there's a doraita problem, and yet, at least according to Rabbi and Rashi, yet we're still making it, and there's different reasons why b'di'evet we are making like Rav Chisda, but it's one should know lechatchila. You should finish everything, all the preparations, enough time before Yom Tov ends, so you can benefit from it on Yom Tov.
How early can one do it?
Tomorrow morning, you can make an Eiruv Tavshilin. An Eiruv Yom Tov. Okay. According to Rav, that brings us to another question, and in fact, maybe we'll end. According to Rabbah, the whole reason we can make an Eiruv Tavshilin or rely on the Eiruv Tavshilin is because there's no Isur Midoraita to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbat, because there's a chance I'll benefit from it on Yom Tov itself. And you can ask, and the Rabbi gives an answer for it. Okay, I have a family, I'm 2 people in my family. The amount of meat we can eat on one day, let's say, is 1 kilo. So let's say 1 kilo. I'm a very hungry person. The maximum I can eat is 1 kilo, okay? Maximum I can eat. Both of us together. How can I cook 2 kilos on Yom Tov? I'm not going to eat it on Yom Tov. I can't. I can't eat 2 kilos of meat on Yom Tov. So Rabbi says, well, there's a chance that guests will come to your house. There's a chance, right? So since there's a chance that guests will come to your house all of a sudden, out of the blue, and they will want this food, because you have guests, you have to give them food. So therefore, you can also cook, although you know it's for Shabbat, but since it's just a chance that they'll come, so you can do it. And it brings maybe a question. When's the last time someone came to your house and you gave them the food that you cooked for Shabbat? If someone comes, you give them cookies, you give them a drink, coffee. You don't give them real food. You give them snacks. So how could that thing help? So maybe in the past, maybe they used to give them a real food, but today it doesn't help. So if we go to Chatchila by Rabbah, how can we rely on Eiruv Tavshilin when I think none of us we had guests in just the last 10 minutes before Yom Tov and said, "Oh, lucky you came. I just happened to prepare for you another piece of steak, and here's a steak." How could that work? There's a few answers given to that. One of them, and we mentioned a bit the idea of it last week, that the Melachot of Yom Tov, it's more of a halachic definition than maybe something which actual might happen. There's a halachic definition. Okay, we gave examples from it last week by if a melacha is defined as ochel nefesh, it's permitted even if I'm not doing it for ochel nefesh. I'm allowed to light a fire to cook, so as long as I have benefit from it, מתוך שהותרה לצורך, הותרה נמי שלא לצורך, I can use it also not for cooking, just for warming up my house on this cold winter day. Okay, so since I'm not, so this is more a matter of definition. As soon as the Torah said to us, this melacha is permitted, we don't care so much about will people come, will not people come. As soon as there's a chance, by definition, this melacha might be for Yom Tov. So that's one of the explanations we give.
Should we try to eat some of this prepared food on the Chag itself before Shabbat?
No, you don't need to.
You don't need to.
You don't need to. Yeah, by definition, as soon as there's a chance that people might come, so that's fine. Another explanation I heard that's from Rav Usher Weiss, that people that have young kids, especially in the summer days, the young kids say, well, we're eating at 8:30. I'm hungry now. It's now 7:30. I don't care about the fact that you are now going to light candles. I'm hungry now. So you take a bit of the food for Shabbat that you prepared on Yom Tov, and you give to the kids. So there's a chance. So if you all of a sudden become hungry, you'll eat a bit of it now. So since there's a chance that you'll do it, you can rely on the Eiruv Tavshilin. If you want to summarize it up, we take a piece of, preferably also a piece of bread and also a dish which can go together with the bread. We say the bracha, we say the text which is written in the Siddur, and then we can prepare everything we need, which is connected somehow to a meal. You can prepare it on Shabbat, lechatchila, we should prepare everything when there's still a time before Yom Tov ends. That's lechatchila, not to leave everything for the last moment. Lechatchila, we should do everything when there's still time. So theoretically, we can benefit from it on Yom Tov. And just before we do this mitzvah, it's an interesting mitzvah. The Chazal said to us, we want you to do Eiruv Tavshilin. It's not a matter, there's a mitzvah for everyone to do Eiruv Tavshilin. It's not just you'll be allowed to cook. We want you to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat. We want you to know that Yom Tov is something different than Shabbat, a different holiness in Shabbat. Each one of them is unique. There's a mitzvah of doing Eiruv Tavshilin, so we should do it. Sameach, right? That's